Why do we end the first bracha of the Shmona Esrei with the words Magen Avraham?
What we need to point out, first of all, is the fact that the hathima, the wording of the end of that first bracha, the first benediction of the Shmona Esrei, the Tfilat Amidah, the standing silent prayer, that is the core of our tefillot, of Jewish prayer. The wording of that bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Magen Avraham, those two words, Magen Avraham, the shield or the protector of Abraham, these words are based on a pasuk, on a verse in the Torah. Many people, I think, have overlooked this fact. The wording of the pasuk occurs at the beginning of Perek Tethwel, chapter 15 of Sefer Bereshit, of Genesis, where Hashem speaks to Avraham in a vision and says to him, Al tira Avram, do not fear Avram. This is before his name was changed to Avraham, to Abraham. Al tira Avram, Anochi mochen lach. I am your shield, I protect you. Do not fear. And we find explicitly mentioned in the Midrash, if the fact of the wording itself, if that fact was not sufficient to tell us that the bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Magen Avraham, is based on that pasuk, if that wasn't sufficient, then we have a Midrash which is quoted in a very important and rare, relatively rare book, that is to say a book that is not widely known or read, unfortunately, that is Menorath HaMaor. There are two books by this name, in fact, and this is the original Menorath HaMaor, written by Rabbi Yisrael Anakawa, who was martyred in Spain in the year 1391. There was a second book by the same name, but as I say, this is the original book by that name, Menorath HaMaor, and in the second volume of that work, which exists in only one manuscript on earth, to the best of our knowledge, and is a very rare and very special manuscript. The text of this book contains many, many quotes from our sages, from Chazal, in very precise and accurate forms, very precise readings, and very often also it quotes sources that we do not find anywhere else, and this is the case here in this particular instance, because the Midrash that he quotes is as follows. It says, K'she'amar ha'kodash baruch hu la'Avraham al tira Avram, when Hashem said to Avram, do not fear Avram, Anochi mochen lach, I protect you, I'm your shield. Pathahu ha'malachim wa'amaru baruch atah Hashem mochen Avraham. The angels spoke and said, they responded and they said, blessed are you Hashem mochen Avraham, the shield of Abraham. The Midrash goes on to say, Uchashe ahya et Yitzchak min ha'akedah, when Yitzchak was saved from the test that Hashem tested Avraham with regards to the Akedah, to the possible sacrifice of Yitzchak. When Yitzchak was saved from this, the Malachim responded and said, Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, mehaya methim, etc. So the bracha, Magen Avraham, is explicitly connected by this Midrash to this pasuk that we find in Parashat Lech Lecha, where Avraham was afeared of something, and Hashem responded, and Hashem appeared to him and said to him, Anochi mochen lach, I am protecting you, I am here, have no fear.
Of what was Avraham fearful?
That is, in fact, a very good question. We find in the Midrashim and in other commentators, we find a number of possible explanations. One explanation offered by Chazal already is the fact that Rashi quotes that Avraham was concerned that perhaps in the war that he had previously fought with a number of local kings and their armies in order to attain the release and the freedom and the life probably of Lot, his nephew, and many other people. And as a result of that war, perhaps many people had been killed who did not deserve to be killed. Rashi's language there actually is not exactly the same choice of words that we find in Chazal. Rashi speaks about Avraham being concerned that he killed many nefashot, that he killed many people, that many people as a result of this war died, which is certainly the case. Whereas in all the midrashim, where this possible explanation for Avraham's fear, for his concern, where this comes up in the midrashim, the term there is, the terminology used is tzaddikim. In other words, Avraham was concerned perhaps he had brought about the death of righteous people, not just any person, but people who were essentially righteous people. This is one possible explanation. Another explanation is the fact that he was concerned that having fought these local chieftains and kings and armies of people and having brought about their downfall, that some people in the country, in Eretz Canaan of that time, would wish to revenge themselves against him. All these interpretations are possible, but it seems to me that we can offer another explanation, and perhaps a more meaningful explanation in terms of the meaning of the term Magen Avraham and the fact that we use this term on a daily basis in our prayers. As I have mentioned on another occasion, we find Avraham at the very beginning of Parashat Lech Lecha, of this Torah portion, Lech Lecha. We find Avraham making a career, so to speak, making it his business, making it in fact his life's work, to travel around the country that Hashem had promised to give to him and his descendants. And in many places the Torah relates that Avraham built mizbahot, altars, and that it says that Avraham wa'ikra b'shem Adonai, that Avraham published and made known and disseminated the knowledge of Hashem's name. In other words, Avraham, and this is how Chazal explained the term wa'ikra b'shem Adonai, and the Ramban and the Shadal and other commentators explained that Avraham saw it as his responsibility, his purpose in life on this earth, to announce, to inform, to disseminate this information, this knowledge, that there is a Creator, that He is one, and that all people must worship and connect to this one Creator, and that this is also the source of all that is good and positive in human existence. Whereas, of course, this was not the common perception. There were many, many forms of idolatry, all kinds of foreign worship, which of course the Torah, and already Avraham himself, well before the giving of the Torah, was very much opposed to. It goes without saying, it seems to me, that Avraham was putting his life on the line, quite literally. Certainly he was opening himself up to criticism and to much opposition. After all, here we have this person, Avraham, this Johnny-come-lately, who came from a foreign country, who came now to the land of Canaan, and he takes it upon himself to tell people what they should believe, what is true, what is false, what is correct, what is proper, what is improper. It's not hard to imagine that many people found this a difficult thing to stomach. Certainly the religious establishment, and the religious establishment was always, in those days, connected to the temporal ruler and authority of the time. It's hard to imagine that these establishments did not view someone like Avraham as a threat, and someone who had no business to do what he was doing. And it seems to me that this is the reason that we find in the Midrash the famous story about Avraham in Ur Kasdim, where he grew up. The famous story about Avraham breaking and destroying, smashing the idols of his father and refusing to worship these false gods, and that the ruler of that in that place at that time, Nimrod, told him, gave Avraham an ultimatum: if you do not accept this religion of ours, if you do not do as we do, you will be executed. And Avraham refused, and this is all according to the Midrash, this is not written in the Torah at all. and Avraham refused and was thrown into a kivshan, a furnace, but he did not die, which is of course a tremendous supernatural miracle. Whether one takes this story literally or not, I don't think is of any real significance, because the idea behind this midrash to me is very clear. Avraham Avinu was the beginning of a revolution. If you want to call it the Hebrew revolution or the Abrahamic revolution. The revolution of Avraham is to bring about the annulment, the negation of avodah zarah, of false worship, of incorrect and very pernicious ideas about the existence of many gods and how one should worship them, and everything that results and that emanates from such a view of human existence and of the cosmos. Avraham made it his life's mission to uproot these ideas, or at least to begin the process of uprooting these ideas, to announce, to teach, to educate, inform people about the true nature of the one Creator and what is correct and proper in His eyes. And this, of course, was something that ran totally against the grain of everything that everybody around him thought and practiced. And it's really quite incredible and quite impossible to imagine that Avraham would not have run into opposition. So whether the story of the Midrash of Avraham being confronted by the authorities, by the king, and being thrown into a furnace is to be taken literally or not, the idea behind it is very straightforward and is inescapable and entirely credible. In other words, that Avraham was risking a great deal. He was being moser tanefesh. He was definitely risking a great deal, his own life in fact, not to mention his standing, his status, etc. In those days, the way the world worked in those days, he was definitely placing himself at risk. The concepts of freedom of expression, freedom of religion, the separation of church and state, all these concepts had not come about, of course. These were thousands of years in the future. The fact, therefore, that Avraham made it his business to do so, took it upon himself to do so, at great risk to himself, to his family, to me this seems the most obvious and realistic reason for Avraham to be afeared. Avraham had reason to be concerned that perhaps people would gang up against him and maybe attack him and maybe kill him. Certainly they wouldn't make his life very easy, so he had reason to be fearful. Now when you are fearful of such a reaction and you do not know from whence it might come, you do not know if it will come from this direction or that direction, from this person or that person, this tribe or that tribe, you have yourself a big problem, because then you are living in a constant state of fear, of trepidation, a constant state of having to be alert, not being able to, as it were, sleep with both eyes closed. This is definitely a great worry, a great problem. And to me, it seems most likely that this is what Avraham was concerned about. This is what literally did not allow Avraham perhaps to sleep fully, completely. He trusted in Hashem, but he also had to be aware of this opposition that he was engendering with different people in his general area in which he lived, where he moved, where he traveled. And Hashem appeared to Avraham and said to him, Al tira Avram, do not fear. I will make sure that nothing happens to you, because you are doing my work. You are doing that which I hoped for, that which the reason for which I created you, in fact. You are doing the right thing. You are doing that which must be done. Wa anochi mogen lach, and I will protect you. I am your shield. Do not fear. The connection to the Jewish people throughout history, to me, seems very obvious. We, the Jewish people, are also in the business of putting our lives on the line, quite literally. We have been doing this for thousands of years. One cannot possibly enumerate the number of Jews crucified, murdered, exterminated, decapitated, tortured throughout history any period of history you choose to mention, because of our beliefs, because of the fact that we continue to spread this teaching of Avraham Avinu. We are literally Bnei Avraham, the sons and the students of Avraham Avinu. And therefore the Jewish people need to be assured that Hashem will protect us, that we will not be done away with, and we will be able to survive and continue this great work, this historical and unique mission of the Jewish people, the divinely inspired and the divinely ordained mission of the Jewish people to spread the knowledge of Hashem. And therefore we say every day, we repeat in our tefillot, that we are the children and the students and the followers of Avraham Avinu, and just as Avraham was promised that Hashem will protect him from all those who oppose his teachings, so will Hashem do for us. And therefore, Baruch atah Hashem, Magen Avraham. Blessed are you, Hashem, the shield of Abraham.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the Rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the Rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.